Hello guys, welcome to a Train Parrot. 22 hours ago, I put out this video, Altcoin Explosion, covering Ethereum, SUI, BNB, Solana, XRP, Avalanche, and Doge. And in that video, I asked you which coins do you want me to cover in a similar way. So just to prove that I listened, I read your comments. In today's video, we're gonna do Altcoin in-depth analysis of HBAR, TAO, PI, Algorand, PEPE, Kaspa, SEI, and ONDO. We'll cover technical, socials, liquidation levels, and news as well affecting these coins. If you want to hear about strong levels of support, resistance, next targets to the upside, if Bitcoin continues this trajectory to the upside, make sure you don't miss any part of the video. There will be timestamps, so do not panic thinking that you are going to waste another 30 minutes of your life if you are just interested in a single coin. Just look for the timestamp in the description. Do not ask for shorter videos. Find a solution. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. And again, can we get 1,000 likes with an altcoin video on a Monday with potentially China tariffs and all tariffs coming to an end? Guys, in this video, we're going to look at altcoins. And altcoins are a lot more dangerous than trading Bitcoin. There is no financial advice in this video. And although I do for informational purposes the analysis on all these coins, it does not mean that I'm gonna take all or some of those trades. In many of these coins, I'm already positioned. So just so you know where you're standing, this is not another sketchy YouTube channel if you haven't noticed. Those usually have over 1 million subscribers. So be careful where you get your information from. All right, let's get started with HBAR. Every time I hear HBAR, I think XRP, XLM. They come to mind as if they were siblings or something like that. Top 5 developments for Hedera hash graph. What a name. HBAR's price surged to a 2-month high, reaching approximately 0.2, marking a 24% increase over the week. This rally is supported by a significant rise in the funding rate, which hit a 5-month peak, and a positive checking money flow indicator suggesting strong investor inflow and bullish sentiment. Interesting. They also announced recently the adoption of Chainlink's CCIP on its mainnet, enhancing its cross-chain capabilities, which is always something good to hear from different networks. When they start interconnecting, being more versatile platform in the decentralized ecosystem sounds great to me as well from the point of view of fundamentals. Technical indicators suggest potential end to a bearish trend. The 200 daily crossing below the 50-day EMA, HBAR has shown resilience despite the death cross. The token's recent price movements indicate a positive reversal of this bearish signal, with the price testing the 0.2 resistance level. We get plenty of mentions of this particular level, which we're going to look in the charts just in a second. HBAR outperforming the broader crypto market is also great. Community engagement highlights strategic developments, integration with NVIDIA chips. So we got a good combination of bullish fundamentals and sentiment together with technicals. So where are we at the moment with Hedera? You can see that we had a breakout with a retest from the price action. Similarly, we did the breakout on the RSI weekly as well. Momentum is pointing up. It has crossed already 50, which is good thing for the coin. We found support precisely at the highs of March 2024. That is something that it shares with coins that has shown strength during this particular cycle. Not all the coins are in a similar situation. If you watch the video from yesterday, you are gonna see plenty of them that couldn't take the highs of March. They are having a breakout, but they are having a breakout from way lower, and that lack of resilience could translate as well in shorter rallies to the upside if they cannot manage to get out of the trap. In the case of Hedera, we look pretty good. This shows an intact uptrend because we have highs, higher lows, and higher high. So what's next for Hedera? Well, to prove that we are in this trend, we need to take the highs of 0.3. I think my opinion is that we are well in the path towards 0.25 rather than 0.20. I think the articles are a little bit outdated. We were fighting with that for a couple of weeks, trying to reclaim 20 cents. but after the retest with this Sunday candle close, we managed to break the 20 cents resistance. This week, we're actually aiming for 25, as I said. Let's look at the socials, and Hedera is pretty low in socials, 0.5% at the moment of social dominance across all social networks, and it can get as low as just 0.1%, but the highs can be above 1%, so there is upside still for Hedera to call more attention. This means that this move in here up has been pretty much a stealth move so far. We'll see what happens once we cross 25 or if we manage to cross 33. At that point, if we are pinching the tops of attention, we can just look back in time and see what happens after. There is intense profit taking at those points. We can see that after that we spend months going just sideways. This area in here as well, when we hit the recent support in March, the socials were also spiking to almost 3%, which is the highest that we can see in all this cycle. In the previous cycle, the socials made it to 3.6% of attention. It's always incredibly relevant for me to see where are we with social dominance together with technicals, amount of longs and shorts. That's why I prefer to have the altcoin chart looking on the weekly with this selection of things. I look at the news, but that's pretty much just fun to me. If we don't find any news, it's a red flag, but you know, news are news. I'm not gonna buy something just because they are bullish news. That turns me automatically into a retail trader. The selection of coins this week do not include the top 10 market cap. Therefore, we are gonna struggle to find liquidation levels on Trading Different, which at the moment are only supporting these coins in that list. Therefore, we're going to have to fall back to CoinGlass, which at the moment shows that 0.2 was a huge level of short liquidations, and they got taken hours ago. In the past 2 days, we could say. Unfortunately, we cannot see more than 3 months, so we won't be able to see a lot of liquidation levels on the upper end. We can see that we are halfway through with a very thin layer there of short liquidations. There are liquidations again, probably that we cannot see around 0.3 just based on experience. Below, we are leaving behind that 16-17 cents, which was the order block that initiated this next move up. When it comes to longs versus shorts, recently around 7th of April, we were in an area of value in here. I was drawing this, who knows, maybe 1 month ago, saying that around here there's the area of value. That's usually what I say when we get closer to the lower bands of delta longs and shorts, which is an indicator included in my Pine scripts, which you can find in the shop of my Patreon website. Areas to get worried that we are overextended in number of longs is if we get to these areas in here. Notice that I tend now to show it just on the weekly, but in practice, if I want to do further fine tuning, I drop it to the daily, and at the moment the daily is at the top end of longs. So watch out to getting too bullish with HBAR if you are still sitting on your hands, because this is showing that it's already overcrowded on the daily, not yet on the weekly. It could get a lot more overcrowded on the weekly, but daily should give you a yellow warning in that sense. So that means look up for some pullback. We have support at 20 cents, maybe something healthy to test that. Unfortunately, we are not gonna get pullbacks if Bitcoin doesn't get pullback, and Bitcoin so far hasn't given any pullback. If you look at the weekly chart on BTC, you can see only green candles so far. So if we came back down in here and we tested, let's say 95, sure, then HBAR definitely is at least gonna test that 20 cents. For now, potentially Bitcoin continuing and breaking the highs allows for HBAR to go to 25 or even further to 33. Let's look at the news of the next coin, which is Bittensor. Of course, everybody's gonna be talking about the price surge of 30% in a week. There's a bunch of indicators showing strength as well, including the awesome oscillator and the MACD turning positive. Potential targets are mentioned of almost $400. Price predictions of 1.2K, 200% up within 2025. Market's performance strength continues to be the news. And the news number 5, notice that I'm asking just for the top 5 news. Growing interest in decentralized AI boosts TAO. I think that is what's calling the attention into the fundamentals here. Looking at the chart, it's showing me that we had a breakout on the 7th of April. Unfortunately, the RSI has gone pretty far already. So if you're looking for a long in here, you should probably slap your face against the mirror, because similar to Bitcoin, it's having a blast of 1, 2, 3, almost 6 candles that could have been green, except for this one in the middle that was just flat in the red. We are at an RSI of 56 and the highest it's ever been is 61. Not saying that it has to stop there, because on the weekly we have very little price action to compare back in time. I have some targets in here that we need to adjust because the price went slightly lower now with the Fibonacci trend extension. An extension of 1 sends us into 766. I guess that's what people are calling out in those articles. Then we have the golden pocket at 1131. That's the second call they made. Now we discover more or less where are they coming from, but you can see something bullish in here. There was support that got broken, then we went back, it was resistance, that was the kiss of death that you're seeing there at $437. Came back down, formed a double bottom, and that double bottom has managed to reclaim the 437 support with a candle close last Sunday. So we are trading right here. Hopefully all we are doing now is just going back for a retest. Notice those retests to the upside are pretty significant moves of 14% up. So it's a volatile coin and can move 14% down also to do retests to the downside. Next resistance is 582, and that can be done in a week. As you can see multiple times, you can cross the full range into 582 very quickly. That is a move of around 33%. The trend on the weekly is still pretty intact. We can drop the time frame to the daily to see a bit more. On the daily, it has lost support once, but I don't blame it because Bitcoin is pretty much the same. We have already lost on Bitcoin the first line of defense on the daily, and we are pretty much at the same point. So I could say that Bittensor is pretty coupled from the RSI point of view daily with what Bitcoin is doing. Although Bitcoin has already managed to get around this area here right below the all-time high, that will put Bittensor at 687 if it mimic every single step of the way. I guess it's a little bit delay against the performance of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin carries on, potentially Bittensor is not gonna be very creative and just gonna follow through. So in a nutshell, the uptrend is still intact, not a coin that you can enter for at these prices if you cannot stomach some pullbacks. Going back to the lower price is a drawdown of 67%. That's how high we have moved up so far. So the risk to reward is very poor to enter in here regardless of the strength. So a pullback, a false alarm to go to the downside, looking for entries, I will say look for support at 350 if we get that lucky to go there, otherwise 432. Liquidation levels we can see at 320. There is an interesting one that starts from 340, but in between there's very little amount of liquidity to take. To the upside, unfortunately, we cannot see much just because we only have liquidations of the past 3 months. And let's go and see what's going on with Pi Network. I'm going to start with the weekly, just very quickly show you the price action that there was support at 125 and we are piercing all the way to 167, but it's being sold hopefully not back below that lower close of 123 because that's going to be an ugly rejection. It's going to make it look like a dead cat bounce. Let's have a look at the daily. Well, definitely that was an area to consider selling or unloading at least some. You can see that it went from an RSI of 40 into 85. That's 45 points non-stop for Pi Network. Those are levels that I love selling off the RSI. When we get a move that huge, there has to be profit taking. What's driving these moves of Pi Network? It has experienced a remarkable surge in both price and market activity, driven by heightened investor anticipation and significant ecosystem developments. Well, we have the surge of the price, of course, over 100%. Well, activity sparks market interest. Network climbs into top 15 cryptocurrencies by market cap. Technical indicators suggesting potential for further gains. I will read this with a pinch of salt. After reaching 85 on the RSI, maybe we enter an area of various divergences, some highs on the price, meaning potentially the RSI to start cooling down to the downside. Ecosystem developments, enhanced network utility, decoupling of wallet activation from token migration have streamlined using user onboarding and an increased accessibility. So there's things that are definitely driving on the fundamentals as well. It's not just price surge. Unfortunately, I don't have liquidation levels for Pi Network, so I'm gonna go straight with Algorand. Algorand breaks out consolidation, targets 0.3. There's a 30% surge this week, positive market sentiment and technical indicators, ecosystem development, partnerships and use cases, real-world applications, and the Algorand Foundation collaborating with the World Chess to introduce a chess passport, providing portable, verifiable credentials for players. Additionally, Algorand's blockchain is being utilized for tokenizing solar panels in Italy, enabling citizens to offset energy bills through partial ownership of solar farms. We have community engagement and staking initiatives. So a lot going on at the moment with Algorand, and this is one of those coins that has higher highs in December relative to March, so that's something positive. We got increasing incremental highs here on the RSI. We reclaim support. That's another thing that is positive, and I'm looking for potentially getting into RSIs of 70. That's where we currently have potentially a next pivot, although that's just purely speculative. Next level of resistance is of course 27, because that was the highest close in March, and support within this area before losing it. It is great that we reclaim 20 cents and we are on our way to that resistance. My thinking was, if we can reclaim all of this, we could have a rally again into the top of the range. There is currently some confluence. I'm gonna drop the Fibonacci extension to make sure that it matches with the lowest price that we did in April, and thanks to doing that, we're gonna get a massive confluence in here of this move into 65 cents. I'm not saying it needs to happen immediately, but just an extension of one, which is the same performance that you have here, can bring the altcoin to that level. A double top occurs at around 55 cents, and I'm missing one level of resistance that probably is going to be really important. We have 32.42 as well, and then the highest close at 50 cents, also a psychological level. Areas to reload, although we already have a retest at 20 cents. If you get lucky, we go back again there. Otherwise 22 cents, because at that point we also show support and resistance. I'm gonna add it to the chart, although it's getting very busy, but I'm trying to find not just the most important support, but also being a bit more aggressive, assuming that the rally continues. Of course, the retests are going to be less deep. If Bitcoin sees a rejection at 106 and it goes below 100K, well, then you're gonna get a much better entry if we have that. So I didn't mention it, but RSI had a breakout, is still looking healthy. Longs are at 47, they have bottom at 41, and there's definitely room to go to the 80s once again if we got really bullish. We didn't go to the value area located at around 30s this time. It's always a mixed bag, because you can say about that, well, it was more resilient. It didn't allow the price or the longs stay there. They didn't fully capitulate, but fully capitulating is an opportunity too. So in terms of socials, we're getting very close to no one giving a crap about ALGO. By getting to 23 cents percent is very low, definitely in the lowest range, where you know that you can go even beyond 1% of attention. That is the highest attention that Algorand has ever had in social dominance across all social networks. We're gonna do another request from people, which was PEPE coin. I left a trade setup that I shared earlier, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. PEPE surges over 80% in a week, hits multi-month high. Major PEPE transformers from Binance spark speculation. PEPE bulls eyes new all-time high amid short liquidations, and open interest in PEPE futures hits an all-time high. I'm gonna show you where those liquidations are, just if you are curious. Analysts warn of potential pullback due to overbought conditions. And let's see those liquidations. I can see some of them are located at 7. I'm not gonna read the number of zeros in this coin, which is a massive pain. Below the price price, a more conservative liquidation, we could say is located around 12. After that, a 10, but really 7 is taking the lead here in terms of liquidations. Interestingly, not the actual double bottom in here, which is 56. That's way less than 7 at the moment. So what has happened with PEPE? Let's look at the price action. This was the entry that I share, an 82% upside into 12. At that point, we saw resistance in here, but we sliced through the resistance just like Bitcoin has done. Bitcoin should have stopped in many levels of resistance, but is definitely not wanting to do that. At the moment, 1428 is holding the price because there is a level here that was previous support. I ended up picking 17, but hey, 14 is also important. So I'm gonna delete the trade since now it's completed. There is a double bottom with a neckline at 92. Let me see what was the target of that. If we look at this like that, well, that also got fulfilled. And what is RSI doing? Well, I was expecting to go with a rally into resistance. That is the trade that I shared. And we pretty much did that, but a little bit more because we crossed that line and now we are holding the lost support as new support. So that's a reclaim. So I will say that if PEPE managed to hold that 56 RSI, let's write it down. Unfortunately, the reverse RSI is not giving me a value with so little number of the price. You can see that now is rejecting the price so far this week, but probably that 56 is right there at 13.12, the minimum. So that is support that ideally we want to claim. The RSI has already broken that level, but the price is being held by 14. So it will be nice if this week the RSI at least doesn't break below that 56.71. I would recommend that you add the RSI on the weekly into your charts, just the full settings, and set an alert if this week we lose that level, because losing that is going to be a big deal. We were after all above it, and then that could turn into a rejection. So ideally holding that and carry on, not to enter for the first time on a trade right there at a potential rejection after a huge rally on a meme coin. Okay, what else should I sell to keep you away from that trade? Look at this, the longs are at 40 at the moment, the delta longs shorts, and that's the highest it's ever been in number of longs. That's reflecting the amount of open interest, leverage longs that we have currently on PEPE. So if you're looking for a long here, most likely you're looking for a huge trouble. Also, socials have pinched the top band of social dominance. Meme coins, when they call attention too much, they retrace 70%. So if you like that sort of setup, then be my guest and take a long right now, but I'm not gonna touch that ever. That's reserved for prime retails from TikTok. And we got another setup that I completely forgot. I share so many setups, not all of them play out, but many of them do, and people that watch the channel consistently tend to be very happy. The people that are not happy are people that are watching the first ever video and they just cannot handle too much information, too long the videos. I need too much IQ. What can I do? This is annoying. Give me my TikTok back and I'll be happy. This channel is not for the typical Homer Simpson. I think that's clear, although Homer Simpson is one of my favorite characters. Anyways, we have a double bottom in here on Kaspa, as you can see, and it broke out. The entry that I shared was at 70 cents. These are not entries that are going to my Patreon. I just share these things publicly, literally. Just follow my videos, go back in time, and you'll find them. So from 71, it went all the way to 13. And you're probably gonna think that I'm bullshitting this, but I left the target right there. It was an 85%, and today we are fulfilling the full target. So that's amazing. I want to know what are we confronting now, and the next level of substantial resistance is 146, and the RSI is putting a global breakout. Big deal for Kaspa, guys, because we've been through a period where I've been perma bear on Kaspa. As soon as we started doing this rollover, I compared this performance with 2021 on Bitcoin weekly when we were in the middle of this. Look how similar this looks to the current price action of Kaspa. It looks to me the same, and we ended up doing something very simple and similar to that year with the exception that at this point, Bitcoin crashed all the way to 28K. So hopefully Kaspa in here is not going to do that. Hopefully this is not just a dead cat bounce, because with all this rolling over, I will say we haven't gone to the full target of 75. We have done only half of that. We managed to hold support in here, but I guess general markets, Bitcoin being happy, and Kaspa can dodge that bullet. Socials remain extremely quiet for Kaspa with just 0.69% of social dominance, where it can actually reach 5.4 at this prime. Well, we missed this, but Kaspa actually already did a huge liquidations of shorts by managing to go into 12 cents. Below the price, we're going to have to increase this again, and we have at 0.1, 86, and 71 the largest liquidations to the downside. When it comes to news, token unlock on May 7, that is already old. They released 144 million Kaspa tokens into circulation. So far, that doesn't look like it has affected the price in a negative way. Price surge and bullish momentum, breakthrough of key resistance levels, which we are already seeing in the chart, crescendo, hard fork, and network upgrade. All of that is past news, recognition as a leading decentralized crypto project. So I think that they are just repeating themselves with the news. There's not much going on in the recent days when it comes to news for Kaspa. So I think Kaspa is just mimicking Bitcoin at the moment, having that breakout on the weekly, hitting weekly resistance, which is incoming at around 146, as I say before. Let's go to SEI. On SEI, we've been calling on the price action for a rally into 40 cents. So far, we have done some progress, but there's still room to go up. We noticed this pattern in here with a low, a lower low, and then a higher high, pretty much like an inverse head and shoulders, which we've been looking to form in this area. So far, we only did the left side, the head, and there is no right side because there hasn't been any retest on Bitcoin either. We are in the process of reclaiming 26 and on the way to 31, still far away from 41. And the weekly RSI is getting very close to weekly resistance. Longs are at 47, which we could say is more or less around the median for longs and shorts. So that means that there is still room to go up, room to put more longs if we want to get to a very top of 70, which is the maximum level of longs that we have ever had on SEI. Socials are on the lower end, not necessarily the lowest it can be. Liquidations of the past 3 months on SEI are showing that we are in progress liquidating shorts up until 0.3. There's still room to do a little bit more damage. Below the price, we have at 16 cents some intensive liquidations and a lot less at 19 cents. And let's look at ONDO. This was one of the requests that people ask the most. They're telling me that it's a fantastic fundamental project in the space of crypto. So let's look at what we can find. So ONDO is repeating something that we have seen with other coins, particularly HBAR looks very similar to me. We have higher highs, December versus May 2024. We have this trend line holding the price. We just found support there at the confluence of the ascending trend line with the horizontal support at 73. We managed to cross the next level of resistance of 90 cents and to get into 112. So a huge progress in just a few weeks. Now facing resistance at that precise level, not just of the line, but the volume weighted moving average, getting very close to that. Extremely bullish targets that I'm going to mention. These are hopium targets 2.2 and 3.2 if we get an altcoin season that can be on the table. In the meantime, let's just focus on 137 and 162. If Bitcoin breaks all-time high, those are doable in my opinion for ONDO. After all, here we have candles that in 1 week can move 30%, and from where we are, 45% can get into 162, and 137 is just 24% up. Watch out with this particular scenario in here where the RSI weekly meets with the low support. Some coins have managed to reclaim that, but watch out with buying below that resistance incoming at RSI 54, pretty much at the prices where we are facing that resistance, which is 1-1. You know, support, lost support, test of that support, critical time, RSI agrees. This time we are confronting that with very little attention attention, which is always better to do it in stealth mode rather than in an overcrowded trade with too many longs. Let's look at how many longs we have. We have 56 versus this highs of 63 or 75. Still room to go, but we are definitely not in an area of value. Value probably is a lot lower, but since this has been listed recently, I don't have percentile bands to show you. Liquidation levels on ONDO are located at 81 cents. That is the biggest in case of panic. And at the top, levels to continue punish longs are at 136. Let's see if there's a lot of fundamentals like everybody's trying to convince me. ONDO prices surges 20%. That is just price action. Donald Trump's trade announcement boosts ONDO's market performance. The recent trade deal announcement with the UK and positive signals regarding upcoming talks with China have positively impacted the broader market. ONDO benefit from the bullish sentiment. I think this stands for everything. I don't see yet how is this specifically to ONDO, but hey, I didn't read the article, I'm just reading the headlines. ONDO recognized as a mid-cap mover in the crypto market. I don't see fundamentals with that. I just see price action and performance. Expansion of ONDO Finance's ecosystem to Solana. That is something fundamental, and of course, it can benefit from cross-chain ecosystem activity. Announce the expansion of its institutional-grade real-world asset. Okay, that's great. Bridging solution to Solana blockchain. This move aims to enhance cross-chain interoperability. There you go. In Spanish is interoperabilidad. I barely can say it in any language I speak. ONDO's market capitalization and trading volume sees significant growth. ONDO's market capitalization, blah, 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 more performance and market cap. So pretty much all I find in the news in the past days is all to do with this coupling now with Solana. Great. That's it. Guys, if you want to trade these altcoins, consider opening an account on Bybit. Currently have rewards for up to $30,000. The link is in the description, and that also secures reducing the trading fees to a minimum. If you want to stay non-KYC, deposit and start trading in just 30 seconds, no headaches of approvals and stuff like that, then go for my link of Bluffing. Currently still running a campaign up until the 15th of May, offering deposits and trading volume bonuses. So make sure that you catch this one if you like this particular campaign. After the 15th, I'm gonna have a new one incoming. Thanks so much for watching, and continue to write down in the comments what are the coins that I'm missing, whether they are fundamentals, technicals, why should I look at that coin? I'm really interested to hear. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.